Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. I hope you had a great weekend. In fact, we hope to get off to a great foot this Monday. Now that we're here, our guest this morning is Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Minister of Information. Good morning, Honorable Lai Mohammed.
Good morning, brother.
Thank you very much for coming on.
It's always a pleasure.
Now, a number of things, and when you come on like this, the phone starts going, and so I guess there's not going to be very much preamble. You virtually become one of us. We were hoping that we could just touch base with you on a few issues. Among them, we'll look at the fight against the coronavirus. We'll look at an update on our security situation. And as I'm sure you'll know, today in the National Assembly, there'll be a public hearing on the social media bill, part of which is, of course, to curb this whole matter of the negative use it is being put to. And we'll get your comments on that. But let's start with the pressing news of the day around the world, which is coronavirus.
Thank you, Mr. Folari. I think the latest pandemic to hit the world is the coronavirus. As you are aware, it's broke out in the last days of 2019 in Wuhan, in China. And as of today, about around 9,000 people have been infected. About 3,800 deaths have resulted. Outside China itself, the countries that are most hit today are South Korea, with about 7,300, Italy with about 7,535, Iran. The U.S. has not been spared. The U.S. today has about 200, I think about 475, who have tested positive,
Okay.
and they've recorded about 19 deaths. Britain, I think yesterday, as of Friday, recorded the second death. In Africa, about 9 countries have been affected, with about 44, cases. Of course, Japan has also been quite affected. Overall, today in Nigeria, we have only one confirmed case, and that's the Italian that came in to work. And we've tested, I think, about 23 cases that have been reported in Ogun, Lagos, Kano, FCT, and I think Rivers, if I'm correct. But so far, to the best of our knowledge, only one case has been confirmed to be positive, and that case is being managed.
What they refer to technically as an index case. We have just the one.
Just one so far. Yeah.
Now, Alhaji, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
In relation to, first of all, the statistics, when we see that we are so fortunate to have no more than just the one among the countries that is affected in Africa and then around the world, I use the expression "so fortunate," by which I mean that I wonder what your thoughts are about the state of our readiness with isolation centers. We've been so very lucky, so very fortunate, and I imagine that the nation is grateful. But should there, God forbid, be a need to handle multiple cases, are we ready?
Mr. Folani, I beg to disagree. It's not about luck. It's about preparation.
Okay.
It's about readiness. And I say it with all sense of modesty, that Nigeria leveraged his experience on the handling of Ebola to contain the coronavirus. Yes, it is true that the prophet is not recognizing it at home. But 2 days ago, the World Health Organization congratulated Nigeria, commended Nigeria on the exemplary manner we've been handling the coronavirus. So it's not just a matter of luck. It's the fact that the moment the coronavirus broke out, federal government set up an inter-ministerial, multi-sectoral committee to handle this public health emergency. The committee, which was made up of the Ministries of Health, Interior, Aviation, Humanitarian Affairs, Information and Culture, the NPA, the Federal Aviation Authority, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, the Port Health, Customs, Immigrations, Quarantine, supported by international organizations such as the World Bank, the World Health Organization, the United States, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the West African, Center for Response, and other NGOs to handle the response to this. And this is what has made the difference. As we speak today, the director of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control is probably just coming out of self-isolation, because at the height of this, outbreak, he was singled out as one most knowledgeable and experienced virologist to come and have a meeting in China with the Chinese authorities. The only African, the only black person to that meeting. That is the extent in which the world understands the ability and capacity of Nigeria to handle this kind of epidemics. And when he came back, of course, he had to be tested too. Even though he tested negative, he was asked to go into self-isolation.
In fact, when people were concerned, the man had to explain that I self-isolated.
Yes. Yeah. Now, that's just, so please, and you can see that today, the committee is working very hard, because as we speak today, there's no cure for coronavirus. All we can do is prevent it and contain in the unlikely event that there's an index case. And that is why we have gone overdrive in sensitizing Nigeria and giving public enlightenment on the do's and the don'ts to avoid coronavirus. I know that we give a daily briefing.
That's right.
On the status, both globally and in Nigeria. We have made available to the Ministry of Health, of which we are a committee, a member of the committee, all our platforms, the NTA, the FRCN, where we have jingles, we have announcements, we have documentaries on television, and we're using also the National Organization Agency, which has reached in all the 774 local governments of Nigeria, to translate into the indigenous languages for better reach on what to do and what not to do. And I want to take the opportunity to express our satisfaction with, and happiness with the Lagos State government. They've done marvelously well in terms of bringing awareness, to these, to fight this, virus. I'm not even just talking about the level of infrastructure and the level of readiness, Lagos State. But you see, what we do at the top, that is the coordinating committee, is to assess and give support to both state and the federal, especially at the point of entry. Also assess the level of our equipment, assess the level of our infrastructure to ensure that we can combat this virus.
So taking all this,
it's not a matter of luck.
It's not a matter of good fortune.
No, it's fact that people are working 24 hours. Today, the Nigerian, Center for Disease Control has free numbers and WhatsApp where you can reach to get advice. But one of the greatest challenges we have today is fake news.
Because you mentioned WhatsApp, and I was going to ask that, look, all the platforms that you've explained reaching into the 774 local governments and all of that, I didn't hear of social media.
Oh, yes. Well, of course, which is very effective. As a matter of fact, you know that the news agencies of Nigeria regularly sends out SMS to Nigerians at random on the status of the disease, what to do, what you want not to do. But unfortunately, one of the greatest challenges we have today is fake news. And we saw this coming. And we warned, because we knew that providers of fake news would take undue advantage of this epidemics to confuse people and thwart the efforts of the government. And fortunately, we have working with us today Facebook, Facebook is cooperating with us, and they ask us that Nigerians should please report any fake news or misinformation, about this virus, and they will just once it is flagged, they will move it from their Instagram or from any of their platforms. I can give you some examples of the fake news. For instance, there's this fake news that the Italian that came in with the virus, that he was threatening to leave the facility because the facility was poor, and it's fake news. Another fake news is that the Uber driver who brought the Italian from the airport is threatening to spread the disease unless he's giving 100 million naira. It's fake news. There's also the fake news that all you need to do to not to contact coronavirus is to eat garlic. Well, you can eat garlic, it will not help you at all, I can assure you. Another fake news is that Africans are immune to coronavirus. It is not true.
It isn't true.
It's fake news. Another fake news is that all the passengers that traveled with the Italians have disappeared to thin air. It's not correct. We've traced more than 100 of the passengers. Unfortunately, again, some of the passengers...
How easy a job was that?
Pardon?
How easy or difficult a job was that? Tracking down everybody he came into contact with.
Because, you see, every airline is enjoined to give forms to all passengers before they land. This is sort of the preparation, some of the measures the federal government took at our points of entry, especially the airport, that anybody on the flight just before landing will be given a health card in which it would give us the history, his name, his address, his contact number, where he's coming from, where he's visited the last couple of weeks. Now, those are the forms that we have been using to trace many of them. Regrettably also, some of the passengers have been less than truthful. They've given us wrong numbers, they've given us wrong addresses. But overall, I think we've succeeded more than people are ready to give us credit for. So please, honestly, our appeal is that this campaign should be, the whole country should take possession of this campaign.
And fortunately,
they should take ownership of it.
Fortunately, all the experts are saying that prevention is relatively easy, so very easy in terms of our hygiene. Wash your hands with soap. Now, everybody has access to soap, thank God.
You see, what we're saying is that, like you rightly said, the only weapon we have now is prevention. Containment is more expensive, it's more difficult, but prevention is by far easier. And what is it? Wash your hands regularly with soap, especially under your fingers. Ensure that if you see anybody who is sneezing or who is coughing repeatedly, you put at least 5 meters away. Let me say about 5 meters away from him. Avoid crowded places. Don't honestly touch your nose or your mouth because you can ingest the virus if it is there at all. Report anybody that you think has difficulties in breathing. And these are very simple things that
in connection with one of the things you've just said, avoiding crowded places, we congregate. We congregate in the mosques, in the churches, social events, political events.
Amazingly, Nigerians are doing very well. And I'm proud to say that the Catholic Church in particular has modified its mode of practice to ensure that the infection is contained.
Some potentially dangerous aspects.
After that, for instance,
for the time being.
Yes, I know that in Nigeria today, the Stations of the Cross has been cut down so that there will be little or no chances of mass congregation. Today, the people are given their communion. They put them in their hand and they take it themselves.
And all sorts of adjustments
are being made. And then I went to, I had to go to a wedding, sometimes on Saturday. The first, about 3 places, there were sanitizers for everybody.
Exactly.
So you can see how we are really adjusting. But the important thing is hygiene, and hygiene. Yes, we must not necessarily panic. Once we take the basic, we do the basic things that we've been advised to do, there might be no need to take any drastic steps. Unfortunately, in certain parts of the world, like Italy, Italy has closed all schools. France is the latest to close schools in affected areas. Sports is suffering. In Italy today, I think the Italian league is now being played in many places to empty stadiums.
So we don't need to go to all those extents for now.
Precisely, if we take these precautions, this is what I'm saying.
And that is where it's important that as many people as necessary know. Of course, everybody in the urban centers know this already. But then going into the hinterlands.
This is why the NOA has translated into different languages these campaigns. And this is why I'm calling on state governments and local governments to take up the challenge. Federal government who can only coordinate and provide, the infrastructure, the equipment, but we must be supported by state governments and local government. This is why I commended the performance of Lagos State in particular. I was laughing yesterday when I saw one of the adverts, of Lagos State government. I mean, it's so amusing, but the point was made.
Putting across information.
Yes.
Now, the way the Italian gentleman came in, and we actually had to go, as it were, retrieve him. Are you satisfied that measures have been taken such that it's very, very unlikely? Because I've been hearing that capacity, medical personnel, security personnel, biosecurity personnel have been enhanced in airports.
You see, all our points of entries, and today there are 4 major ones, which is Malam Aminu Kano Airport, Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport in Abuja, Port Airport, and the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos are the major points of entry today, because Enugu Airport is still under repair. Yes, we are not unmindful that the land border could also, is also a volatile area which we are manning, and also even the seaports. But in all our airports today, we have thermal scanners. And these thermal scanners, you go through them without even you knowing at times. It's not just the one that, they put a thermometer on your head. No. As passengers are coming, they go through scanners, and it will pick, it will trigger of if your temperatures are above a particular level. However, sometimes it might not manifest the day you arrive, like the case of the Italian. So when he came through the airport, he filled the forms, he went through the scanner, but the did not manifest until when he got to his workplace. And as soon as it was noticed, he was taken to the diagnostic center, and immediately it was confirmed that he had that he was positive, and he was isolated immediately.
So that's one of the big challenges. It might not necessarily be manifesting on arrival.
As a matter of fact, the danger of coronavirus is that the carrier might not know, and they can still transmit it. You might have there might be no symptom. The carrier might have no symptom, but yes, it can still, transmit it, and that is why all these basic hygiene steps become very important. But the most important thing, I think, is prevention.
Okay.
And once it's prevented, and if the unlikely event of detection, then containment.
Okay. We spent as much time as we have on this because it is really a number one topic around the world in terms of our health. But
it's not just our health, but the economy.
Indeed.
I mean, you see, as we speak today, the world might lose up to $2.7 trillion as a result of this virus. Chinese exports has gone down by 17.2% in this period. And it has slowed down the growth, Chinese growth, from 6% this time last year to 4.5% this year, the same quarter. The air travel industry is probably the most hit, and the air travel, by some analysis and estimates, might lose up to about $100 billion US dollars.
Okay.
But nobody is exempt.
Indeed. We've seen visuals, we've seen videos on social media of hard-hit places where they actually are spraying towns, they're washing towns.
They're locking down.
They're
60
locking
million
down
people
places,
are,
exactly.
Yeah, 60 million people locked down today in China.
I don't know the extent to which we can afford to, spray down, certain key public facilities, because what I'm saying is that I've not seen, at least in the urban centers, neither do I know if it is deemed to be necessary to spray down certain public utilities, for example, or if these are really under the responsibility of the managers or owners of such facilities.
I think a lot have to do with the people that own the facilities.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Again, even where you see this, massive spraying and lockdown, it's because of the outbreaks.
Okay.
Today as I speak, I think about 16 million inhabitants in Milan and 14 other provinces in Italy are up to almost total lockdown.
Okay.
South Korea, almost the same. Iran is also, some lockdown. So, but like we are both agreed, the important thing, the cheapest and least inconvenient is prevention.
Prevention.
This is why I think
And a doctor has told us that soap and water, even much more so than the sanitizers that are also recommended.
Yes.
Soap and water as many times
yes,
as possible in a day.
And we must have very clean hygiene habits.
Indeed. And you mentioned about
and this
coughing
is why I
and
believe
sneezing.
that our local governments, our state governments,
they have a big role to play.
And even our leaders, religious leaders, we should provide sanitizers. We should provide, at any place that's public congregation. Like I told you, the party I went to yesterday, on Saturday, and there were 3 points they mentioned that everybody
was being sanitized.
Yes,
sanitizing their hands at least.
Yes, also, even hotels too are doing the same thing.
Of course, yes. Those are doing the same thing. But again, the throwback to the days of Wole Wole, the inspectors, I don't know, they might have come back, or there might be a need for them, because whereas the big corporate bodies are doing what you have just said, the hotels, maybe the hospitals, but so many other places I have noticed.
Mr. Folarin, there's no doubt that our local government,
it goes back there.
Our state government,
they have a role.
Must take ownership.
Okay.
And it must go back to what they used to do.
Okay. Well, we spent, as I said, as much time as we have because of the importance of the subject matter. But there are other aspects, of course, that once we have you, we'd like to touch on. And there's a sense in which there are security aspects to what we've just been speaking about.
Absolutely.
But now let's go to security the way we know it in terms of safety of lives via insurgents, via banditry, and all those other, unsavory causes. Now, in recent times, I've heard field commanders, in fact, I think I've heard the Chief of Army Staff say that we need just a few days more to finish Boko Haram. Now, that was, if it hadn't come from him, it would have been almost unbelievable being said. We've been at this for the past 5 years, but now we're hearing that in days, it'll be a thing of the past. Of course, the question that comes to mind is, if you now have the resolve, presumably the commander-in-chief has given the order or whatever, why did we do that all these 5 years? Why are we now hearing that in another few days, but even weeks, it's big news?
You see, Mr. Polani, we must look at this matter from the correct context and perspective. It's not as if in the last 5 years the military had not been making progress. No. Cast your mind back to 2012, 2013, 2014, where Boko Haram had unfettered access to any city of his choice in Nigeria, especially the federal capital, where they came and bombed the United Nations headquarters, the police headquarters, this day building, they bombed shopping complexes, parks, where it was impossible to travel a few kilometers from Maiduguri, where they controlled 14 out of 20 local governments in Borno State alone. When I say control, where they were in charge, they were collecting taxes, they were imposing emirs, they were removing emirs, they were in charge. I was in Bama on the 5th of December 2015. When I got to Bama, I thought I was in Algeria or Tunisia because the entire town was Islamic, even the signposts were in Arabic. That was the situation we met. Today, I can say that there's no single local government that is being controlled by Boko Haram because they've been banished to the fringes of the Lake Chad. Yes, from there they come to, attack soft targets. But that's not the same thing as when they controlled territories. They maintain and control territories. They can't do that again.
And even Chad and some other neighbors have said that now they have a zero tolerance for people running to their territories.
Yeah, you see, I was in Addis Ababa with Mr. President last month to the AU summit. And the thing was silencing the guns in Africa. And it was clear that you can't silence the gun in any country unless you are able to silence the gun in all other parts of of Africa. Now, again, when we came in 2015, we were fighting Boko Haram. We've defeated Boko Haram a long time ago. What we are facing today is ISWAP, Islamic State of West African Province. Because as soon as ISIS was dislodged from Syria, what did they do? They moved to the Sahel. And then the turmoil
we've actually defeated Boko Haram and
it's
taken
ISWAP.
on it's actually ISWAP. You know what? I got to go on a break and then you come and elaborate on that. Let me take this commercial break and stay with us, please. We'll be right back, and of course, we'll include your calls. Welcome back. Our guest is Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Honorable Minister of Information, and we've spoken about the coronavirus, and the battle against that, and advances that have been made there, and how we are in a good place, and have even got commendation, from World Health bodies. Now we're speaking about security, and just before we went, we were saying that actually, people might not know it, but Boko Haram has been defeated in real terms. It is ISWAP that is being dealt with, and even that, hopefully, and you are saying that against the backdrop of my question, that why is it now that the commanders are now saying we need just a few more days?
Yes, Mr. Farrell, let's have misunderstood. What I mean is that the Boko Haram we inherited in 2015, we defeated them. What we have today on our hands is ISWAP and global terrorism that have now been freed from Syria, and they are now responsible for the havoc that we're experiencing in the entire Sahel, be it in Libya, be it in Burkina Faso, be it in Mali, be it in Niger, be it in Chad. Now, we are fighting global terrorism. And that's why I'm glad that only 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, the U.S. renewed the bounty, reminded the world that they put a bounty on the head of Shakau. Now, having said this, because we have to put this in the proper context, what would give the military the confidence that the days of Boko Haram is limited is because we've now acquired better platforms, we've acquired better equipment. So don't forget, Mr. Folarin, that Boko Haram and insurgency, this kind of insurgency, is not your conventional kind of war, where the enemy territory is defined and your territory is defined and you could go for them. No. This is called a war amongst the people. The insurgents live among us. So you can't try and say this house belongs to Boko Haram, this house belongs to Boko Haram, or this city belongs to Boko Haram. So go there, mow it down, burn it down. No. You need intelligence.
It couldn't be an all-out war.
No, you need intelligence, you need precision equipment, and you can see that in the last couple of weeks, our firepower, area firepower has improved because we took on some new equipment which was launched. About a month ago, I think we took on some Augusta helicopters, some from Italy, some from the USSR. From Russia. And we're still working on the other platforms from the US. So the more efficient equipment we get, the more confidence the military will have about ending the war.
The campaigns.
Yeah, the campaign, that is it. And so, and of course, it makes the job of the military, the full soldiers, easier when they are supported by area firepower.
Can you appreciate the feelings of some in some quarters because you've just said that it's a special war, you can't really go all out because it's a war among the people. Can you appreciate the feelings of some who say they can't understand the logic of repentant Boko Haram fighters being reabsorbed? In fact, people have gone, they see them on television, they're all uniformed now, flying in planes, and say the feeling of some, as I'm sure you must have picked up from the news as well, or commentary, is that these people were enemies. Why are they being handled like this?
You see, Mr. Folarin, you don't win this kind of war just by kinetic alone. You also win the war by winning the minds of the people. And here again, I want to commend our military. What they are doing is beyond just bullets. They've set up medical outreaches in many of the retrieved their territories. They've turned their time into teachers in schools where there are no teachers. They cancel, former Boko Haram people have been traumatized. Now, rather than rely solely on bullets, you must also win the minds of the people. And even when they say the repentant Boko Haram people will be absorbed, they are not absorbing them into the military. They're absorbing them back into society. And I think we should, you see, many of us will make comments on things we know very little about. It's everywhere in the world. Wars like this are not won just by relying on the kinetic, on bullets alone.
Okay.
That's what I want to say. But you see, another thing which Nigerians should be careful of is that the Boko Haram has now changed its strategy. And it's now trying to exploit the religious divides in the country. I say it clearly. Boko Haram, when they started, did not spare Muslims, did not spare Christians. They burned down mosques, they burned down churches. But recently you can see, because they've been depleted and they're almost vanquished, they've now adopted a new strategy where they attack only Christian communities and attack only Christian personalities. The idea is to bring disharmony and disunity between Christians and Muslims. And we must not fall for that.
Okay. So
Boko Haram is an enemy of all Nigerians. Boko Haram hates Christians as passionately as they hate Muslims.
Okay.
Boko Haram, they are a band of criminals, and they are bigots, but they are very smart.
Okay. And so these ones, you're sure that the debriefing and the skill that the army brings to bear, when the army says these are de-radicalized and are repentant, we can trust that they are indeed so.
Well, you see, I won't want us to second guess the military. They are the people.
One moment, sir. You will continue, but a call has come in. So let me just take Mazi Okoroafo in Arujuku. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Honorable Minister, sir.
Morning, Mazi.
Good morning, Your Excellency. Honestly, sir, I thank God for you are coming for this to tell us about the state of the nation. May God bless you, sir.
Amen.
Sir, my own concern is, sir, in all the 36 states of plus Abuja, our major problem, they said this COVID-19, people should wash their hands from their hands to the elbow. But at least 70% of states, they don't have pipeline water. Most of the pipeline water you see in states are being generated by the people through this borehole, which is not also good for them. Please, is there any need that any way the federal government can mandate the state governors and the local government authorities to make water available, at least boreholes, even the honorable people to help produce boreholes, because most of the schools we have in Nigeria, they don't have water. And secondly, sir, thank God for the action the federal government has taken about the NDDC. But what I want to draw the attention of the federal government is in NDDC hostel in Futo, Federal University of Technology, Owerri, the hostel they are very, very expensive. The one they say coordinated by NDDC, 45,000 naira every year. And inside one room, they have up to 4 double bunks, which is not healthy. Now you have seen what is happening now in the whole world, so-called COVID-19. Is there any way the federal government can step in and see that how they can fix, because the condition of students in one room, all the Nigerian universities, is very, very alarming.
Okay, Mazi. Thank you very,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mazi. Mazi Okorafor clearly is an educationist, and so he's, you can see that that is his emphasis.
Yes. So, Mazi, I appreciate your concern, but I can assure you there's enough water for Nigerians to wash their hands everywhere, and they will provide. And I think you can see, even before you came in, I actually implored the state governments and local governments to ensure that they provide the basic infrastructure for Nigerians. As for the overcrowding in schools and colleges, I think it's noted, and that your concern, observation will be taken to the appropriate quarters.
Okay. So I was saying, you said you didn't want us to second guess the military, but people that have, turned their guns on us, they've now been de-radicalized. There are concerns that...
you see, Mr. Folari, just about a week ago, I saw the U.S. sitting down with the Taliban to draw out a peace agreement. American soldiers lost their lives in Afghanistan.
Okay. So there's a strategy
but
to all of this.
20 years later, the two parties are sitting down together. To do what? To work out an agreement for permanent peace. Now, at the end of every war, you will have to forgive one another.
Okay. So it goes back to the point you made that it's a war among the people.
Yeah, and these people are Nigerians.
Okay. Let me bring in Joshua in Irewole. Good morning, Mr. Joshua.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you.
I agree with the Honorable Minister. I congratulate the federal government for the way coronavirus has been managed and handled well so far, and I wish them success in tackling this plague. I want to appeal to him. They should please not play politics with it. That's the only way out. They should not play politics, especially with information dissemination and nipping in the bud anything that is happening before it becomes an issue. Please, points of entry, everything that is being done right should be sustained. Please, and I want to appeal to him, please, the federal government should subtly appeal to the religious bodies. They are still, some of them are still unmindful of gathering crowds. They should please appeal to them. This is not a time where money should consume everybody's passion. Okay. We should look at the health of people. Many of them still think it is business as usual. Crowd gathering, for now, at least it's for a moment, they should be able to make that sacrifice as their own contribution to helping to combat this plague. I do appreciate him so much. And I ask you, sir, end Boko Haram. I don't know what interest they have in Nigeria. I don't know where our territory is so interesting to them. Please let the soldiers end Boko Haram. We are done with them.
Thank you very
sir.
much.
God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's noted. That, like I said, we will appeal to, we want, appeal to our religious leaders that they should please ensure that at all their mosques, churches, there's a lot of water, maybe available for people to wash their hands, sanitizers and the like. Because it's only when you take this preventive measure that you will not be forced to take any other drastic measure. So I think the sentiment, the suggestions and remarks are noted.
Let's touch on fake news and how dangerous it is, and what advances are being made, if any. I said, and you already know, that there will be a public hearing in, I think, the Senate this morning,
Yes.
so that people can contribute to the whole idea. And it's been said that this is not about banning social media, but it's a bill to regulate what people do, how they use their freedom.
Yes. Mr. Folani, I think there's this confusion between what the social media bill, on the one hand, and what the Ministry of Information and Culture is also doing to sanitize the social media. They are two different things. The social media bill is a law to regulate the social media, hate speech, fake news, and the like. On our own part, the Ministry of Information and Culture, we started the campaign against fake news, hate speech, and disinformation more than 2.5 years ago. I remember in 2018, we devoted an entire National Council on Information meeting to address this issue, 2017, to address the issue of fake news. And then in 2018, we launched a campaign against fake news, hate speech, which took us even to TVC here, took us to most media houses, and we got their buy-in and their support. As of that time, we still believe that persuasion is the word, that the key is persuasion. But the fake news on social media has gotten to a situation where persuasion alone will not work. And that's when we, as the Ministry of Information and Culture, decided that we must bring sanity into the social media. We must sanitize the social media. But we are not necessarily talking about, laws. It could include technology. It could include regulations. It even include legislation. But we are talking to all the stakeholders, the media, the NGOs, the technological companies, like Google, like Facebook, like the military, like the security. Let's sit down and see how can we sanitize the social media. Because unknown to many people, the government is not the only victim of fake news.
One moment, please.
Yes.
Mr. Alabo, I want to thank you for holding on all this while in Port Harcourt. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Please go ahead.
I'm calling a result of the program going on the BBC News.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, I also want to greet the Honorable Minister.
How are you?
Good morning.
Morning.
Fine, sir. In result of your statement that we are fighting, the Boko Haram is killing us and we are fighting within us. So I want to ask if they have finally absorbed in the repentant Boko Haram. So what are the plans for those who they are now included into the military? Don't you think the people they send to the military?
The point was made that they are not being absorbed into the military. The minister made the point, unless you missed it.
Okay.
He made the point that they were not being absorbed into the military, but back into society.
But with the social media and the reports everywhere, they said that they have been absorbed back to the military.
Well,
and they're also giving them amnesty.
No. I think that
they've also treated a minute of Boko Haram in the northern area.
I think if the military made it clear that they are not, they are not being, absorbed in the military.
Thank you, Mr. Alabo.
Thank you. Yes, you see, it is part of the fake news.
Because he cited social media. He said social media says.
Exactly. This is part of the fake news we are trying to, we're trying to fight. It is. The military made it clear.
That they were not being absorbed as fighters in the military.
No. There are procedures for even joining the military. Even able-bodied people, even people who are well-behaved cannot get there. Talk less of, easily get there. So it is not true. It's not true.
It is not true. That fact is, it is not true
that
former Boko Haram fighters are being absorbed into the Nigerian army.
Some people have been in detention, they have been arrested, they've been in detention, they were, caught in, some that, saw them are probably collaborating with Boko Haram.
Okay.
And it's fine. They have been radicalized. They turned a new leaf. We don't have to continue keeping them in detention or in prison. Let them leave them out, give them jobs, let them be useful to society. That is different from, the news that they want to put them in.
And that's
how do you think even the military would, reabsorb, the former Boko Haram fighters into the military? It doesn't make
but the
sense.
notion people were having is that is when you bring people like them, they'll be able to lead you to places that our boys would not easily have found without their help.
Do they have to be in uniform to go there? If you want to use them for intelligence gathering, of course, it's even better that you do so when they're not in a uniform. I think it's all this kind of conspiracy theories and disinformation. No.
Okay.
The military has no intention whatsoever of absorbing repentant Boko Haram fighters.
Okay. Mr. Kingsley in Kaduna, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yeri.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Even those fighters that I think they are integrating back into the society, I think they've done more harm than the soldiers that were sentenced to prison. So I'm not seeing any reason why they are being romanced and then those soldiers are allowed to rot in jail. Those people have actually starved the country with their life.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling in.
Frankly speaking, I seize every opportunity to commend the gallantry of our soldiers and the fact that all of us will sleep well, soundly, because of the sacrifices they are making daily.
I guess people are thinking that, look, do you know what have suffered, relatives have lost, friends have lost at the hands of Boko Haram?
However, we must bring a closure to this sad chapter of our history. And it takes sacrifices on both sides.
Okay.
And I think we should just let the matter rest.
Okay. There has to be a matter of...
There must be a closure.
There must be a cessation to hostilities.
Yes, there must be a closure. Lives have been lost,
Okay.
needlessly at times. Is that why we should continue the bloodshed?
Okay.
No, I think we should let the matter rest.
Okay, so in the same way as
once again,
in a totally different context, we have heard that there must be an end to litigation somewhere along the line. It's a totally different context, but it's a similar thing that you're saying.
That there must be an end to the...
that the Supreme Court, there must be a cessation to litigation. There must be an end. You can't go on litigating forever and ever. So I was just looking at the principle.
So what I'm saying is that,
you're saying that hostilities can't continue forever, especially as you've explained that it's a war among the people.
The military that took the decision took it in the overall interest of the country, of the military. I'm sure.
Yeah, the military took the decision, but it was acting under policy. If there hadn't been policy that this is the way we shall go.
But I can assure you that it has been a point that has been thoroughly debated.
Okay.
The pros and cons. There's no policy that you are going to adopt that will not have, a negative impact. But you look on the balance.
Okay.
You look at it and say, which one will be in the world interest of the country? And I believe that, like I said, don't second guess the military. They took a decision. They're the people on the field. They are the people who know their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and they say that, look, we have kept these people for this long time. We have de-radicalized them. We don't think we should continue to keep them as detainees. Let's release them back. But it does not mean that they are not being watched.
Okay.
No, they're not being monitored. But these are not things that you now, tell the whole world. Like I'm telling you now. But I think that the military they have considered the issue thoroughly.
Okay.
And of course, if the fear is that they are going to be absorbed into military, into the army, no.
Okay. That is categorical enough. So back to the other point of security that we were making, but we were calling it fake news. It is a security issue. Fake news is a security issue.
Fake news is a serious security issue. You see, and I'll give you a few examples. The BBC, for instance, sometimes in 2018, said the investigations have revealed that the herdsmen farmers clash was driven more by fake news than by reality, than real hostility between the farmers and the herdsmen. In I think it's a Birnin Wire in Kaduna State, it was fake news that Gidan Wire. There was fake news in 2017, that students of the College of Education there, the Christians were being massacred and were being slaughtered. Before you could say Jack Robinson, they were retaliating on Muslims. Only to find out that there was no killings, no incident at all at the school. Recently, one of the bishops in Kaduna State said that more lives were lost to fake news than bullets in the recent conflagration, in Kaduna State. And like I was explaining to you again, they were trying to say that it's not only government that is the victim of fake news. Many individuals have suffered from fake news. Many marriages have been broken because of fake news. Some very weak, some not too strong people have committed suicide because of fake news. So it's a
and the social media is the principal channel.
It's the major platform, major conveyor. And that is why I said we are having a meeting. We are consulting with all stakeholders, and we are going to sanitize that the social media. Fortunately, Facebook is with us. Google is with us. And when we explain to them why we needed to sanitize social media, they agree with us. And that is when immediately the coronavirus, outbreak, Facebook was the first to contact us. That they know that this will be another opportunity for fake news information, and they are ready to help us to, as soon as we flag any fake news or disinformation on the coronavirus, they will remove it from the platform.
Well, thank you very much, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. We don't have the time. We'd have liked to continue, but thank you very much for dropping by and giving us an insight into advances that are going on across the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Our guest has been Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Honorable Minister of Information, and that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.